Just the other day, my family and I spent some time at the Hyundai department store, considered one of the most premier malls here in South Korea. And I have to be honest, it was one of the most impressive malls I've seen. Floors and floors of top-of-the-line brands, and everyone walking around the latest fashion. In my plain shirt and bland outfit, I felt like a bum that accidentally walked into some alternate universe. But a thought that came across my mind as I stood there admiring all these high-end luxury brands was this. I wonder how many of these people waiting in line to buy these top-of-the-line brands are actually truly wealthy. Well, I can't of course read the bank statement of every individual at the mall, but my speculation is that most are not. Actually, what is closer to truth is that most individuals who do shop at these luxury shops are closer to being broke rather than actually being rich. Now, why do I think this? Because many moons ago, I was one of those broke individuals who desire luxury brands as well. I've never officially shared this on the channel because I've been so embarrassed by it, but at one point in my life, when I was a young buck in his 20s, I purchased luxury brand accessories. Yes, I know, shocking, right? The guy that wears the same boring shirt every day and who is too cheap to buy even his kids appropriate souvenirs when we go on family trips. Well, I just have to tell you that 20 years ago, I was a very different individual. Still the fabulously amazing hair, but a lot dumber. When I first entered adulthood, having grown up without much money, I was desperate to show to the world that I had finally made it. I so desperately wanted to show to my friends, my parents, and most importantly, the random people on the street that I was somebody. Someone to take seriously. Oh, how young and foolish I was. So the big question, what did I buy? Well, to some of you who are luxury brand connoisseurs, this will not sound impressive at all. But I dropped $500 on a Victorinox watch. Yes, I know. $500 isn't exactly Rolex money, and Victorinox isn't even in the same luxury category as brands like Cartier or Omega. However, because it was Swiss made, and honestly, I didn't know the difference between different tiers of watches, I felt like I looked so cool. But for someone who barely had any savings and any form of real wealth, it was a horrible decision. Actually, it was a ridiculously stupid decision. So why did I do it? Because I was so desperate to show to random strangers that I had made it. Despite being drowning financially, instead of addressing the real issue, I tried to create an illusion of success with a watch that cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Now, before we go any further, I want to be crystal clear about something. This is not about shaming anyone who enjoys nice things or appreciate quality craftsmanship. There's absolutely nothing wrong with buying luxury items if you can truly afford them and you're buying them for the right reasons. It's about understanding the difference between buying something because you genuinely love it versus buying it to impress others or to project an image that isn't authentic to your actual financial situation. I learned this lesson the hard way, and today I want to help you avoid the same mistake that I made. Because the truth is that there's a fundamental difference between how broke people and wealthy people think about luxury purchases. And understanding this difference could change your entire financial trajectory. But to understand why we're so drawn to luxury brands, we need to first dig into some basic human psychology. More specifically, the psychology beyond what we call the luxury flex. And let me be clear, the desire to display status through material possessions is not new. It's actually hardwired into our brains. Let's go back to the time of the Vikings. The Vikings wore their wealth on their bodies because there were no banks or safe places to store the riches. Successful warriors displayed expensive armor, costly swords, and armbands made of silver and gold. The upper class covered themselves in fine silk with gold threads and adorned themselves with fur and jewelry. They were basically the Kardashians of the Middle Ages, flaunting their ability to travel by displaying souvenirs from faraway lands. In modern times, we've simply replaced those gold armbands with designer watches, luxury cars, and branded handbags. And when I bought that Victorinox watch, it was my version of Viking's gold armband, a signal to the world that I was worthy of respect and attention. Deep down, my brain was following ancient programming that said, display your resource so others know you can provide and protect. But here's the problem. This evolutionary wiring that once helped our ancestors survive can actually sabotage our financial future in modern society. That $500 watch was my brain's attempt to show that I was successful, but in reality, it was just proof that I didn't understand how money actually works. The difference between buying something because you love it versus buying it for social approval is huge. When you're buying something for external validation, you're not making a financial decision, you're making an emotional one. And we all know emotional financial decisions are usually terrible financial decisions. Looking back, I realized that the watch didn't make me more successful or attractive. My insecurity was still showing through, just now with a shinier accessory. And the people who were impressed by the watch weren't the kind of people whose opinion should have mattered to me anyways. Alright, so if these luxury brands technically do not improve my life, why do so many people fall for it? Simple answer, ridiculously amazing marketing. But a quick break before we get into the nuts and bolts of how these luxury companies convince us to part ways with our hard-earned money. Apart from watching videos like this, do you know what is one of the most effective ways to protect ourselves from the lure of luxury brands? By educating ourselves on how real wealth is built. And the best source? Books. But in our busy world, it's hard to read books cover to cover. Well, what if I was to tell you there's an amazing tool that can source all the amazing concepts from some of the best books available, quickly and efficiently? Which is why I'm excited to share with you Shortform, who I'm partnering with for today's video. Shortform is a platform that produces some of the best high-quality guides to nonfiction books on the market. They have thousands of books across multiple categories. Some of my personal favorites are money and finance, self-improvement, and business. And they don't just cover the book's key ideas, but also make related book recommendations as well as including unique commentary. If you want to understand the world's best ideas, you won't find a better companion anywhere else. Use Shortform to quickly learn key points and gain insights from some of your favorite books. Join through my special link shortform.com/takehim today and get a free trial of unlimited access to Shortform, plus an additional 20% discount on the annual subscription. It's not only a great way to learn more and grow more, but a great way to support this channel as well when you use my link below. Alright, with that said, let's get back to the video. Let's pull back the curtains and expose how the luxury industry really operates, because what I'm about to tell you might surprise you for those of you who aren't aware of how the system really works. The truth is that most luxury brands are not actually targeting the wealthy people. They're targeting regular people like you and me who desperately want to look wealthy. Bernard Arnault is the man behind some of the most successful luxury brands in the world: Louis Vuitton, Moet, Hennessy, and dozens of others. He is worth over $200 billion, making him one of the richest people on the planet. But here's the kicker. He didn't get there by selling to other billionaires. His marketing team have spent billions of dollars studying what they call aspirational buyers. People who can't truly afford luxury products, but will sacrifice everything to own them anyway. They perfected something called prestige, which is basically mass prestige. Think of it as luxury brands creating cheaper gateway products specifically designed to hook middle-class consumers. Here's how the whole process works. Louis Vuitton will showcase a $50,000 custom leather handbag in their ads and store windows. Do they expect you to buy it? Absolutely not. That bag exists purely as an aspiration, to make you feel like you're part of the same luxury ecosystem when you buy their $1,200 entry-level bag. Rolex does the same thing with their $500,000 diamond-encrusted watches. They're not meant to be sold. They're meant to make their $8,000 Submariner feel like a reasonable purchase price by comparison. It's psychological anchoring at its finest. When you see that $50,000 bag, suddenly that $1,200 bag feels affordable, even though it's still more than most people's monthly salary. So when you see that Louis Vuitton ad, when that BMW commercial pops up on your Instagram feed, when you get targeted with those Rolex promotions, they're not trying to sell to the ultra wealthy. They're fishing for the person scrolling at 2 a.m., feeling inadequate about their life, ready to drop next month's rent money on something that will make them feel successful for maybe a week. Arnault became worth $200 billion by selling dreams to people who can't afford them. And the brutal truth is working perfectly. But let's say that you can afford to buy these luxury items. Does that mean you're immune from any negative impact? I say not. I think what is often not spoken enough, but quite damaging, is the relational cost of the luxury flex culture. There are serious relationship consequences to the flex culture that most people don't consider. When you're trying to attract people with material possessions, you're going to attract people who value material possessions. Those relationships tend to be conditional and transactional. Look at someone like Johnny Depp, who reportedly earned over $600 million during his career, but still faced serious financial troubles. Despite making tens of millions per movies, he was spending $2 million a month on his lifestyle. Private jets, multiple homes, expensive art, a massive staff. The attention and status that came with that lifestyle attracted certain types of people and relationships. But when his legal and financial troubles hit, many of those same people distanced themselves. However, the people who valued him as a person, rather than as a celebrity wallet, stayed loyal. Close friends supported him throughout the challenging process, and his sister even testified on his behalf in court. These were the relationships built on something deeper than his ability to spend lavishly. They were built on genuine connection and character. There's also a mental energy cost that people don't talk about when spending primarily to flex. When you own expensive things, especially things you can't easily afford to replace, you spend mental energy worrying about them. Where to park so you don't get scratches on your fancy 7 Series BMW. Where to store your Rolex Daytona so it won't get stolen. Worrying about your Hermes Birkin bag so the leather doesn't get damaged. All which sounds so exhausting. A wise man named Tyler Durden once said this of things: the things you own end up owning you. Regardless of how nice certain things are, recognize that every luxury item becomes a liability that requires mental bandwidth to maintain and protect. Before we continue, I want to share with you something I think you will find really valuable. After years of making these videos and connecting with many of you, I noticed something fascinating. We all have different natural strengths when it comes to money. Some of you are incredible savers who can live on practically nothing. Others have this amazing ability to stay calm during market volatility when everyone else is panicking. And some of you just have this intuitive sense for spotting good long-term opportunities. Which is why I created the Money Superpower quiz to help you identify exactly what your strongest financial traits are. Once you know them, you can lean into the strengths and build a wealth strategy that actually works with your natural tendencies instead of against them. The whole quiz just takes a few minutes, and when you're done, you'll get a personalized roadmap showing you exactly how to use your money superpower to accelerate your wealth building journey. It's my gift to you for watching my very boring videos. You can find the link right in the description below, so go discover your money superpower and start building wealth the way that works best for you. Now let's get back to the video. This brings us to what research actually shows us about how wealthy people behave with managing their money. There's this concept called money vigilance that researchers have identified in studying the ultra wealthy. These people are incredibly careful with their money. They know exactly where every dollar is, how it's spent, what's coming in, and what's going out. They're careful with their spending, they invest wisely, and they're mindful of anything that might separate them from their money. Thus, when truly wealthy people start making money, they focus on how much they can keep, not what they can buy. They do this because they know that keeping is the foundation of building real wealth. Additionally, it also keeps them immune from falling prey to these fancy marketing tactics that luxury companies constantly put on. Real wealth whispers, while fake wealth shouts. So how do we break from the cycle? How can we shape a better way forward? Especially when it comes to luxury items. It starts with reframing why we buy things in the first place. Before any purchase, especially an expensive one, we need to ask ourselves some tough questions. Am I buying this for me or for others to see? Will I still love this in 5 years? Does this align with my financial goals? Can I afford this without impacting my ability to invest for the future? If I had asked myself these questions at 25, I would have kept that $500. Because honestly, the answer to the first question would have been clear. I was buying that watch for others to see, not because I had any particular passion for watches or swift craftsmanship. This brings us one of the most powerful wealth building strategies that I know, the delayed gratification advantage. Instead of spending money the moment you get it, you build such an exciting vision of your future financial freedom that you can easily say no to temporary purchases that don't align with that vision. When you get a raise, instead of immediately upgrading your lifestyle, you live like you didn't get the raise at all. You invest that extra income as if it doesn't exist. This single strategy can accelerate your wealth building by decades. I have a new rule that have completely changed my relationship with luxury purchases. I only buy something nice if I can afford 10 of them without impacting my financial goals. This might sound extreme to some, but it ensures that any luxury purchase is truly within my means and it's not taking away from my long-term financial security. And if you're going to buy some luxury items, here are some principles that I recommend you follow. First, do it debt-free. If you can't pay cash for something, you can't afford it, period. Second, prioritize experience over things. The happiness from experiences tend to last much longer than the happiness from material purchases. Third, choose quality over logos. Buy things because they're well made and will last, not because they have a recognizable brand name. Fourth, buy when you can afford multiple. If you can't easily afford to replace something, you probably shouldn't buy it in the first place. If you're constantly worried about getting it stolen or damaged, you probably can't afford it. Bottom line, the world is filled with so many expressions of supposed wealth, represented by luxury brands and fancy possessions. But after having met with many truly wealthy individuals, here's what I learned about real wealth and status. The ultimate status symbol is not what you wear, it is financial freedom. The confidence that comes from knowing you have options, that you can survive any economic downturn, that you're not dependent on your next paycheck. That's infinitely more attractive and impressive than any fancy watch, car, or handbag. Having millions of dollars working for you in investments while you sleep is a much better flex than having expensive payments that require you to work harder to afford them. The person driving the used Toyota who has a 7-figure investment portfolio is infinitely wealthier than the person driving the BMW who's living paycheck to paycheck. And the individual who can wake up any day and realize he or she can do whatever they want with whomever they want is wealthier in my mind than most billionaires. True wealth is quiet, and quiet wealth is powerful. The wealthiest people I know today don't feel the need to prove anything to anyone. They're secure in their financial position, and that security gives them a freedom that no luxury brand can provide. Thank you guys for watching the theme of quiet wealth. If you want to delve deeper into why I firmly believe quiet wealth is true wealth, please check out my video here. Until next time, all the best.